Hi, I'm Liz Seeley, founder of Starry Eyed Strategy, and I help you turn creativity into your greatest competitive advantage. After decades partnering with some of the world's best, biggest, and most beloved brands, I want to take you behind the scenes. Each episode features top CEOs, CMOs, authors, and founders sharing how they stay inspired to create and activate ideas that launch and last, and how you can do it too. You'll walk away with practical lessons and tools you can use, whether you're repositioning your brand, rallying your team, or planning your next big launch. So let's get started and stay starry-eyed. Today, we're talking with Scott Lawton, co-founder and chairman of Bartaco. Scott blends data, experience design, and divine hospitality to deliver one of the industry's most distinctive experiences. Fresh beach house energy with a frictionless on-demand service model that guests rave about, including me here in Boulder, where my margs always magically appear. In this episode, you'll learn how Bartaco started with a feeling, and how brands that determine what they stand for and then what they sell can turn into scalable, successful systems, why value is the ultimate experience with price, and how to avoid deals and discounts to create true customer lifetime value, how to use guest sentiment and first-party data to coach teams in real time, and leadership moves that keep culture strong at scale, including how to pass it on. If you're building brands to scale or any experience where digital and physical collide, this one is rich with ideas you can use right away. Now it's time to stay starry-eyed with Scott Lawton. Scott, you continue to be a thought leader for me and many more brand leaders, so I'm really excited to welcome you to Stay Starry-Eyed. So happy you're here.
Thanks. I'm honored to be here. I really appreciate it, Liz.
Thanks so much. Well, the only way this could be any better is if we were at our local Boulder Bar Taco that is 1.1 miles from my house. Poor planning on my part to not grab you when you were in town, since I know you have a student who goes to school here.
Two. Yeah,
Yes.
boy and a girl there. So they're both having fun. One of them works there.
Oh, that's amazing. All right, well, next time you come to town, we gotta meet for a mark.
Definitely.
I
That's one
love
of my
it.
favorites. The Boulder Pearl Street scene is awesome.
It's so fun. Well, as we begin, Scott, I'd love for you to speak directly to the brand leader listening, whether they're running a company or leading a marketing team. What do you hope they'll take away from our conversation today? Or what's one thing you hope they try or think differently about for their own branded business?
I think one thing I'm very proud about Bartaco and a lot of the brands that I've been a part of is we're bold. We fail fast, but we fail forward. And we're willing to take risk as long as it aligns with our values, which is creating a really, really great experience for the customer.
I love it. I love it. Well, we'll unpack that a little bit today, especially because I think, especially working a lot in the restaurant space, that you are leading that phygital experience, like the physical and digital collide to create such an elevated hospitality experience. Before we jump into that, though, tell us a little bit about how you started in the hospitality and brand building world. How'd you get your start?
Yeah, I started when I was 15. I walked into a steakhouse that had just opened in Atlanta called Chops, and they hired me as a busboy, and it was turned out to be one of the best steakhouses in Atlanta. It had just opened. I didn't know anything about restaurants at the time, but I got taught there at the restaurant by some of the best, and I made really good money. So I just never quit doing restaurants.
That's amazing. And how long were you there?
I was there off and on for throughout high school. And then after college, I came back and worked at a competitor steakhouse as a waiter for about 6 years. So I cut my teeth in the restaurant industry in the steakhouse business, where the high end steakhouse business. So high attention to the customer, high touch on the tables, and just really tried to make people happy.
That makes a lot of sense. And when you think back to your steakhouse days, what in those early experiences shaped the way you think about guest experience? How does that translate?
Well, yeah, I just got to work for some of the best people. I worked for Panokeratosis in Atlanta, which is Buckhead Life Group, and their philosophy has always been about embracing the customer, remembering the customer, taking care of the customer. Every detail matters, and all of those things. I think really to have your first job be a job of excellence like that. Really taught me a lot of life lessons, taught me leadership, taught me the importance of what true hospitality means, creating a feeling for a customer, getting them to come back. Um, all of those things started when I was 15, and so it was like I got my education at the same time I was getting my high school education in
That's
hospitality.
wild. That's wild. Yeah, it seems like that set found a firm foundation.
Definitely, I've been very lucky to work for some of the best people on the East Coast my entire career. I've only really
Mhm.
only worked for about 4 organizations in my 35 years working, and they're all legends. So it's been such an honor to learn under them, and any success that I've had has just really been sitting on the shoulders of the giants that I've worked with.
I love that. Yeah, who were some of those early mentors?
Well, I had Drew Nieporent from Tribeca Grill, which was a really big one. He just came out with a great book. And that was Nobu, Tribeca Grill, Montrachet, all of those restaurants. I cut my teeth in New York after my steakhouse stint. I decided I needed to professionalize and actually trying to move up in the industry. So I went there and worked for Drew, and I learned so much from him. Then I went down to Florida and I worked for big time restaurant group. Todd and Bill and Lisa Bett are some of the
Mhm.
best restaurateurs in the southeastern Florida market. And then I came up and worked for Andy and Sasha at Barteca, and all these people are luminaries in the industry, and I got to be their right hand man in some way, shape, or form. So
That's amazing. And what's the new book that the first wrote? What's it called? Do you remember?
the book is I'm Not Trying to Be Difficult, and it's the story of Drew and him coming up in the New York restaurant industry, and he was so connected to everything that was going on in Manhattan for so many years, and it's just fascinating to really, even though I worked for the guy for several years, I just didn't know all these things. So it's a great book to read. It's a great read.
That is so cool. Huh, that gives me chills. Yeah, the behind the scenes that maybe have was happening at the same time. All right, I'm gonna track that down. Well, Scott, tell me a little bit about how you channeled all of this experience, especially from fine dining. And, what struck me even meeting you for the first time and also being a heavy user at my Bar Taco down the street is that a lot of brands start with a business plan. Bar Taco, you've said before, started with a feeling. And I would love to
Yeah.
know what was the feeling that you created and how did you turn that into a strategy that could scale?
So it was go back to, let's say, 2007, I think.
Mhm.
I had come on board at Barteca and was running the Barcelona restaurants. Andy and Sasha are the two partners for Barteca, two founders. And Andy was the chef, but also sort of the business mind. And Sasha was the creative tour de force for our brand, and an incredible creative soul.
Mm.
Um, and we were talking about Sasha had been working on this idea of a retail brand that he wanted to do because he was kind of obsessed with retail at the time. We were looking at these lifestyle retail brands like Urban Outfitters, Lululemon, Anthropologie, and how they were replacing the big box stores and becoming these sort of these things. Like, what are they like? What do you buy when you go to Urban Outfitters? A record
What
or
Yeah, what don't you buy?
cool hat or but it's not, but it all fits the Urban Outfitters vibe. Like everything is curated to fit this universe that Outfitters has created, or Cynthia Anthropology. Even the employees look like part of this. Um,
Mm.
and we had been struggling with how do you how do you be a brand and not a chain? This is what we were talking about. We didn't want to be a chain because we thought of chain restaurants as just not where we had come from. We were white tablecloth. We had done fancy um, one-off restaurants, and how do we not fall into that chain trap of just becoming a stamped out thing? Um, and how do we do that? And Sasha had this idea for this thing called Max Wave, which was going to be a surfing slash pizza place. Like you go in and you buy surf gear and skateboards, and there's a pizza oven in the back. It sounded cool, but the
Yeah.
whole idea was around this lifestyle food brand. How do we incorporate it into the brand? Um, and so we started with all these storyboards and word clouds. Sasha made all of these, and we would find pictures from magazines and whatever felt like Bartok. Felt it wasn't called
Yeah.
Bartok at the time, but felt like this
Whatever it
thing.
was to be.
Project
Yeah.
X, Max Wave, maybe. And sort of creating this vibe. And it was all about the beaches of Uruguay, of the Hamptons, of Miami. We just wherever you were, there was a healthy, fun lifestyle, sort of getaway beach vibe. That was started to become what we saw as this feeling that we were trying to capture, if it makes sense.
I love it.
And then an opportunity came about where Andy found a piece of real estate in Portchester, New York, which is where we opened the first Bartaco. It was a waterfront deal, and it was too close to the Barcelona restaurant for us to do another Barcelona there. So he was like, "This is a great real estate play. Why don't we try this taco thing you guys have been talking about?" So at that point, we really leaned in and started to. Now we have to develop it. So we had about a year because then 2008 hit and it was the economic downturn. So we were slow moving everything at that point. We had a lot of time to just think about it. And that was great time because we really did all the pieces sort of fell into place. And it was so much easier when you knew the why to come up with the what, if that makes
Yes.
any sense. So we
It makes
knew
all the sense.
we knew what we wanted. We knew what we wanted you to feel. We knew what we were trying to invoke. And so it created a whole new set of rules. And we didn't start with this is going to be a steakhouse or this is going to be a burger joint and what should we make it look like? We started with this is an escape. This is a getaway. It's a beach house. It's sitting by the water. It's sitting on the back of a truck with a bonfire and drinking a beer and we just came up with all these things that would stimulate sort of those feelings, and then it became really obvious as we saw things, "Oh my gosh, that's so Bartaco, we gotta do that." Or,
Yeah.
so it actually, made it easier in a weird way. Um,
Mhm.
and, it's funny, if you go to the original Bartaco, I think you'll see we haven't deviated much from that feeling. Now, design has changed, different restaurants, different designs, like, if you look in the background, I've got a screensaver of Coconut Grove, Miami, which is
Yeah.
a little different than what you would see in Colorado, and definitely different than what you see in the Northeast, but it fits Miami, it fits Coconut Grove. So, it was creating these escapes and these getaways, that just places where people wanted to be, and then we knew that we knew how we wanted people to feel even to the point of we don't want you to feel gross and full when you leave our restaurant. We don't want you to feel like you do when you go to a Tex-Mex restaurant and you eat a bowl of queso dip?
Yes.
So when people ask why is there no queso on the menu, that's the reason. The food is I'm not gonna call it light, but it's not heavy.
It's
And
fresh, but it's
it's
fresh.
fresh. It's gluten-free, which we didn't even know was a thing at the time, but the menu
Yeah.
was actually gluten-free almost naturally because of what we were doing, and how we were thinking about feeding people. Uh, and, fresh juice, so you get your marg squeeze right in front of you. We wanted you to know how maniacal we were gonna be about this fresh experience at the restaurant.
It does kind of ruin you for every other margarita.
We do. I think we have the best margarita in every market we're in. I've yet to find one where I go, "Oh my gosh, that's better than ours."
I think
I've
so too. When you come to town, there is one new place that we're gonna need to test out and go head to head. I think Bar Taco still wins, but I just wanna do our due diligence.
One of the hard parts of my job is margarita testing.
Yeah. I was tempted to bring a margarita to this. I was like, is a lunch marg fine?" Probably, but I didn't have time because I just got in.
Next
I
time.
love that. Next time. But I love that you would set out to say, "What does the brand stand for?" And then what does it sell? And we like to say that that is your brand North Star, and then it dictates and guides everything you do.
It really does. We've known our North Star from day one, which has made it a lot easier for us to make some decisions that people are like, "That's kinda weird. Why are you doing it that way?" But then when you talk about the North Star, people understand.
Totally. And as brands get bigger with time, but also with scale, with more units, sometimes they separate from the North Star. How have you been able to keep that in sight and have it continue to guide you?
That's where you gotta be bold. That's where you've gotta fight gravity sometimes. What I mean by that is when restaurants grow bigger, there's all sorts of pressure. There's pressure to build them faster, cheaper. There's more voices. There's people. There's other demographics that people say you should be going after, and all these things. You got to really stick with what you know, and but be open and listen. I mean, there's always things to learn, but know that your North Star is to build these places where people want to be that feel real and that know your audience, know the people that really appreciate that, and make sure you're opening in those areas, and hold to your standards with the food. All of these things are really they get harder as you scale. They get harder to do, and that's been the grand experiment. We call it the grand experiment. But how long can we go without becoming a facts of a facts of a facts of a copy of what we used to be, you know?
Totally.
How do
Yes.
we how do we keep our chops? But the answer is it's hard. There's lots of pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially like you said, better, faster, cheaper. How do you just streamline everything with that in mind, especially along the lines of staying connected to your guest and who you know is your target? How have you been able to, at Bartaco, confirm who that most valuable, viable guest is and use that to figure out what fits best with the brand between the target and the North Star rather than being swayed by what might be trending or whatever else would be noise
This
distracting?
has been something I've been obsessed with from day one with Bartaco is
Yeah.
customer data, honestly. When we started, Bartaco, we had these wait lists going out the door, and we were getting these customers' names and their cell phone numbers, and they're on this digital wait list. And I was like, why can't we have that information and tie it out to a check and start to track customers and start to understand these patterns, you know? And we partnered with Wisely, which was a startup at the time, and convinced them to build waitlist technology for us, which became sort of the foundation of that. And to this day, last time I checked, we had about 4.5 million customers in our database
Mm.
with their checks, with their check history and their order history. So there's a lot we can do with that data today. I think there's going to be a lot more we can do with that data tomorrow. It's really interesting, as things progress. But we ask our customers every time you eat at Bartaco, if you're ordering digitally, we're going to text you a survey within a couple hours after you left with 4 or 5 simple questions, and you will get a taco token that you can redeem on your next visit to us. So we're buying you your opinion for a taco, which has been really
Can't afford not to do it.
no, no, and you know what? It brings people back, so I'm glad to give them a taco, and I'm also glad to get the information, and we actually use that information, and we rank our stores, we stat rank our staff, we lead with sentiment. A lot of restaurant groups, most restaurant groups lead with numbers, with payroll and sales, and that's the first thing that they go after on a daily basis at a P&L and a manager meeting. We wake up in the morning and we read our sentiment report, and we get enough data because of our give back question that we have a pretty good idea of how every shift went in every single restaurant in terms of how the customer felt. Get enough data to do that. And so to actually be able to lead with sentiment and train your staff to value that at the most is making customers happy because that's what we sell. We sell fun. And instead of measuring how many tacos I sold and how many margs I sold, I want to measure how much fun I sold. I want it in real time. So that's the type of reporting that we pay a lot of attention to. And we can tell, we might see a report where there were several complaints that night. Things were slow, food was slow, or whatever it might have been. And then we might read a manager's report where it doesn't reflect that. So there's a real opportunity to work with that manager to raise their awareness of what's going on, and make them a better manager. So there's all sorts of opportunities like that that I don't think most companies get enough information to where they can lead that way.
No, they do not. I've worked at a lot of a lot of brands in general, and a lot of them do not. And what you're talking about is brilliant, is combining the emotional and the analytical and using that data in real time. And I could tell how passionate you are about it.
Yeah, one of the things I believe, um, and this is no offense to marketing people, but
Sure.
I believe that all the customer data gets sort of siloed in the marketing department, just by nature. They're working remotely. They are doing social media. They are responding to complaints, which I don't agree with. But in most restaurant groups, there's a social media person who's, or somebody in the marketing department that's responding to the customer complaints, or the customer compliments and all those things.
Sure.
Uh, and we still keep that at the store level and hold them accountable for that, because it's their customers and they should be talking to them. And we also hold them accountable for the sentiment, on a daily basis, and they know it real time. And I think that's a huge unlock. This is my advice to the CMOs and the marketing people out there in the restaurant industry. If you can just open your gate and get this into ops and start to report to them real time ways, and don't be a crutch for ops where they're not dealing with the customer. Uh, it's a big cultural shift, but I think it's really important.
No, that's brilliant. And not just restaurant. You could see that being in retail. You could be that in, different services. We have a clean energy business. Like having that in the hands of those who can address it quickly
Yeah,
is
connect it.
huge.
The digital customer can be disconnected from the restaurant if it's not managed correctly. If that makes
That's
sense.
right. Yes, that makes perfect sense. And what were you alluding to with what you can do with the data now versus what you hope to do later on?
There's a lot of exciting things. I mean, none of this is going to happen in the next month or two, but the reality is, AI is going to have some impact on our industry, and we're still trying to figure out how. But one of these is its ability to review data quickly. If we can identify a customer when they check in at the door, um, through their phone number, they check in on social Wi-Fi, or they start the order on their phone. If we can identify them, then we have their customer data. We also have all their survey data. So if you can put all that data together and come up with recommendations
Yeah.
for the staff with the customer in real time, there's all sorts of things you can do. Oh, last time they gave us only 3 stars. They always give us 5. Let's find out what went wrong last time.
Yeah.
Or, they really love this secret taco that or this, the giving taco that we don't normally have on the menu. Let's make sure they know we're offering it today. Or just there's a million things where what we call enlightened hospitality, this idea of not using technology to deliver the hospitality, but for it to actually give you the insights so that you can enhance the hospitality for the customer, and enhance their visit. Mr. Jones, when he comes in, he's very particular. He's allergic to cilantro, and he likes to eat in under an hour. We know it. You're in, Mr. Jones. How's it going? Just all those types of details. Think about that with 4.5 million
Yeah.
customers. How powerful that could be.
Amazing.
That could punch through in a handheld that the staff is using to order. Um, you want to get really crazy. Eventually, the glasses will tell you.
True.
But but I mean, that's as far as it can go. But I, first, you got to have the data, and it's got to be clean. And
Yes.
that's one thing we're in a good place. We've got very clean data and a clean data flow. And once that technology exists, we'll be able to utilize it.
Amazing. And what advice do you have to some of these like iconic legacy brands who've been around a long time, or maybe, like you said, so many units, franchise, different POS systems, they don't have what you do with a single source of truth.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard right now. I wish I could offer the silver bullet. But if we look out and what's going on in the industry right now, it's rough. But I can tell you, I think the brands that do well are the ones that stick to their North Stars. that don't try to be in everything to everybody. There are some that are winning big in the discount game right now. I don't think that's a forever win. So you got to figure out how to get out of that and transition into a normalized business.
Yeah.
That's a scary slippery slope, if you will.
Yes.
I just saw a stat today that 30% of customers are using discounts right now when they eat, which is
Mm.
the highest stat since it's ever been measured. And and so there's definitely a proclivity for that. Maybe some of that flows through loyalty and things like that and bundle orders, but it's these value is important right now. I think value people are looking for literal dollar value, but
That's right.
the equation for value is value equals experience over price. So you need both, and they have to match up. If the experience exceeds what you thought you should pay for it, you're always going to feel value. Um, I think Bartaco does a good job of that. We're not the cheapest, but we're the freshest, friendliest food you're going to get at that price. That's made with care, and
Yeah.
and people appreciate that value. Um, but it falls very flat if your operations aren't working right, and if the food's not as fresh as it should be, or the hospitality is not at the level that we expect. So you have to look at all three parts of the value equation for your brand and really make sure you're firing on all pistons.
That's right. And it will be reflected not only in sentiment, but in the sales for you, for some of our other clients like Chick-fil-A or Cava, where it might not be the most affordable or the least expensive, but it's definitely worth it to those who continue to come back.
100%. And we're seeing, a sort of a little bit of some depressed segments of the population right now that are holding things back. I think even Kava had a little bit of a rough quarter this last quarter.
Mhm.
But they're saying that people under the 34 and younger are definitely have pulled back significantly. Democrats, they're saying, are spending 30% less right now. So there's certain segments of the population right now that are just kind of holding back and nervous and not sure. But when
Totally.
when that comes back online, I think the brands that stood for who they are and did it the right way are going to do great.
Agree. I know it's that segment who's trying to do the copycat TikTok recipes, creating their own kava bowl, creating their own bar taco. It's not as good,
I'm not
but
betting that they're going to be cooking at home forever. I just don't
I
see
don't
that
think so.
shift in our society. Maybe, but I just don't see it.
Well, and when I agree with you, when things like this happen where there might be a dip, and if that impacts the team, what sort of resources or elements do you use if there is sort of a dip in morale with the teams? It's maybe dragging them down. How do you keep the teams, especially on the front lines, so to speak, in ops or maybe the wait staff? How do you keep them motivated and inspired? Same thing. How do you keep the leadership team motivated and inspired when you're up against some of these headwinds?
Well, Anthony's doing it now, but I can tell
Yeah,
you through our past 5 years, um, it's been about communication. It's been about being honest and telling everybody what's going on. When you're in the dark, you see monsters. So let's talk about it. Being human.
mhm,
We have things like the Bartaco Family Fund, which is a 501(c)(3) that we've raised a lot of money in that was helping people when they had troubles. It's now paying for ongoing education and things like that for our staff. So having those, we offer therapy as part of our package. Having things for our team and being maybe not the place where you make the most money, but the place where you feel like you're being treated respectfully. There's high energy. There's fun. I always say this: we don't sell tacos, we sell fun. And what I mean by that, and I want everybody like that's the first thing I'll say to a new employee. And I want to explain. I'll ask them, "What do we sell?" And they'll say, "Tacos." I say, "No, we sell fun. We sell the experience. We want somebody to come out and say that was worth paying for, and it's not just the thing that I ate. It's how the place felt. How clean was it? How friendly were you? How great was the food? All of these things add up to this fun thing. And in a world of frowny faces, it's good to be a smiley face, and we get the opportunity to be the best part of somebody's day. And
Mhm.
gift, and you have to be wired a certain way. You have to have empathy in your heart, and you have to be a hospitality person. But the time goes by fast. You make a decent check, and you get to smile. I mean, it's a gift, and I think positivity is one of the things that Bartaco has always had. Um, and even in COVID, you'd be shocked how many people were flocking to get our margarita kits and our taco kits, and they would send videos of them bar tacoing at home. We had playlists. Like people wanted that experience, which meant
Mhm.
um, and it's still all about that vibe, and we get
Mhm.
that fun vibe.
That makes perfect sense. When we were on the Next Gen Restaurant Summit panel together just the other day in Atlanta, you could tell the difference between you and your fellow panelists talking about how to continue that morale, how to look beyond what was happening right now. Like you said, yeah, be the smiley face in the sea of sort of the darkness coming together. Brand resilience really
Yeah,
shines.
I mean, we're that escape for your day. We're that mini vacation for an hour of your day. And if you treat that as something sacred, it's rewarding. It feels good. It's a good thing to do. When I say that I work for Bar Taco, people smile, and I like that. I mean, you can see it evokes their face when I talk about it. So that's super cool.
Sure. Yeah, they light up. When you think about maybe some of these hard times, like you said, if either COVID or lately where craziness all around us with supply chain tariffs, all the nonsense. What is one of the hardest decisions you've had to make as a leader, and what did you learn?
I think the hardest decision and best decision I made was hiring Anthony Valletta. He's now the CEO. But when I hired him several years ago, and I hired him as VP of Ops, though he was qualified to be the COO at the time. He already had the credentials and was well qualified. I said, I'm bringing you in a little under so that so the team, you can get the respect of the team, but I'm going to move you up quickly, assuming you do a great job. And that's a big assume, but you have to do a great job. And I want you to take my seat. I want you to take my seat. I am I've done this for a long time. This is a young brand, and I'm still young at heart, but this needs a new leader and a young person with the right energy. And and that was a very hard decision I made very early on when I came back to Bartaco. 5 6 years ago was I am not going to wait until I have to replace myself. I'm going to do it first thing, and work myself out of a job as soon as possible, which really worked.
Yeah.
It was great. And he is running with an incredible stride, and he embodies all the things that we cared about for the brand. He's an incredible leader. He he reads with strength, but he also leads with great empathy. And the team loves working for him. So that's always hard when you know you got to replace yourself. And I didn't do it right necessarily the first time before we sold the DFRG. So this time I was really focused on that, and
Mhm.
I still think it was the best decision I've made.
That's brilliant. And how soon after he was there did you say, "I want you to be ready
Oh, I told him when I hired him
right away"?
because I
Yeah.
figured if he wasn't right, I wasn't going to
Yeah.
keep him. So I
That
wanted
makes
the person to know that they were coming in, that you could get the golden ticket or whatever. You got the chance,
Mhm.
right? But you gotta make it all the way through the chocolate factory first.
That's right. That's right. I love it. A brilliant analogy. And speaking of, yeah, the golden ticket and thinking about the succession planning, things like that. Tell me a little bit about, raising kids while running these amazing brands, because 'cause you've had some big jobs, and I know how that, it takes a lot of time. How do you balance leading a company, building brands with leading your family, especially the, Colorado Buffaloes here with me?
Still the hardest job I've had is that, being a great dad, trying to be a great dad. It's been choppy because I've spent couple hundred days a year on the road, but I've had a army to help me, from my mom to a nanny, and then once I met my beautiful wife 10 years ago, we put the Brady Bunch together, and then she was ready because this was right after we had sold the Del Frisco's, that we got married, and so I had some time off then, and she was ready for me to go find something to do. Not that I was bothering her, but I was chewing through walls. I needed to do
Yeah.
something. Um, so it was great that I got to come back to Bartaco. But it's been what I'll say is a calendar is helpful. Try
Mhm.
really schedule your time so that you have time. But then with that time that you have, be present, um, and don't be texting the whole time. Be around and try and make time for just random time with your kids. Like the best stuff has come from me giving a ride somewhere or things like that. Yeah, it's not. I can't plan it. I can't say let's go out to dinner and have a good talk. You got to be around, and that's hard when you're busy. So you just got to really make time for it. I mean, the first 6 years as a single father, I didn't date when we were opening the first tacos and everything else because there was literally no time for that. It was either opening restaurants or chasing babies. But now it's a different kind of mentality. It's teenagers and 20 somethings, so it's a different kind of challenge.
Mhm. And that's what they say, that it's those little moments where, yeah, you're driving and looking forward, that they actually say something, just poignant that you might have missed.
Yeah, all the best talks were never where I thought they were going to happen. So you gotta be around for
Mhm. That's brilliant. All right. I'm taking notes about that with all of my littles. And when you think about where you'll go from here in the next 3 to 5 years, what do you think will separate creative brand leaders, creative brand leaders like you who are thinking differently, who are pondering how to leverage the data, who are thinking about how to integrate AI? How do you think that what will separate the creative from those who will fall behind?
it. Well, I think there's a lot of things. I think we're in for another interesting 5 to 10 years. I think our industry is transforming before our eyes,
Mhm.
and it's going to continue to do so. Um, so I think you have to be nimble. You have to be innovative. I started with this, but I still believe this: be bold, fail fast, fail forward. Um, there's a lot going on. Technology. There's a lot that's going to happen. So pay attention. Don't dive in right now necessarily. But I feel like we are on the precipice of a lot of the consumer changing. The consumer's changing how they do things. And that's going to change how the restaurant industry is run. This
Mhm.
channel restaurant, I think, is where we're headed. And we like to say, we want you to be able to bar taco however you want to bar taco. 30-40% of our customers still want to order digitally and come in and do that quickly, while others really want a full service experience. And we got to be able to give both. Whether it's takeout, pickup, whatever these things are, they need to be really easy, and they have to be clean, in a way the customer likes to use them. And I think that's, especially as this 34 and under generation unlocked again, it matters a lot to them. It just does.
It really does.
Yeah, so I think people will be left. Some brands will be left behind, um, by not doing this. I think there's going to be a certain point where data becomes a really much more important driver in business, like retail now. I mean, retail data is super important, and everybody knows exactly what you like to wear at this point, and do the whole thing. And the restaurant industry's been far behind that, but once technology catches up to that, data is going to really drive frequency.
I agree. There's nothing better, by the way, sidebar, than when my margarita magically appears because I put it into my phone and it's delivered in the best way by a real person, but you don't have to wait and wait. It's a perfect hybrid,
Right.
having a bit of
It
both.
it's really striking that balance and making sure that the customer is getting a true human experience, but able to do the things digitally that they're comfortable doing. Some are comfortable doing the whole thing, some are comfortable just doing a little bit, and we want to meet them wherever they're at, and so that they walk away with that value experience that we talked about.
Totally. I love that. And when you think about you say stay nimble and stay bold, how do you do that personally? How do you stay creative day to day?
Yeah, I like that question. I saw that one before, and I was sitting there thinking about it. I like art. I like music. I love to go see live music. I like to hang around creative people. I have a very eclectic group of friends, and I like to think creatively. So I think you need to spend time for that, and people who aren't naturally leaning towards that still need to try. That's an important part, and especially if you're a leader now, creative thinking is really important.
That's why I send that question in advance because you have to sit and ponder, what do I do? How do I tap into that?
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Well, let's move into, Scott, a little bit of a lightning round, starry-eyed sparks, which is just fun to think about the ways that stay more innovative, because it's really amazing how you think and what you've been able to do and how you channeled all of that into something new. What is a book, podcast, or person inspiring you right now?
Well, I'm going to go with Drew Nieporent and his book, which I just talked about. So,
Yeah. All right.
yeah,
We'll put that in the
I don't
show
mean to be
notes.
difficult. It's a good book.
That's great. A word that describes how you want to lead in the next year, especially as you maybe step into that chairman position. You might not live and die by the sales numbers, but you don't have to look, but you get to look, and then you also get to come and party with me in Boulder.
Well, it's a different kind of leading, and I'm looking forward to it. It's not the weight of the world on my shoulders. I'm just here to share my experience, strength, and hope, and coach through my experience. And I'm looking forward to learning that and getting better at that. It's also the stage I'm at with my kids in a weird way because they're becoming young adults and they have to live their own life, and I can't micromanage them anymore either. So in general, I'm learning to be a little more quiet, a little more empathetic, and to pay attention, and listen, and figure out how I can relate and be helpful.
Brilliant. Love that. What is one new thing you'd like to try in the next year as you're listening?
I want to go to Japan and eat yakitori.
Yes.
I've always wanted to do that.
That's gonna be so fun. One of my favorite countries.
Yeah.
What's your go-to like walk-on song or pump-up song? So you have something big happening, you need to turn up the energy. What song do you look to?
Turn up the energy. This will be a good Colorado answer. Chili Water by Widespread Panic.
Ooh, this is perfect. They come here a lot. All right, I'm gonna look that one up. And then, what's your favorite cocktail, mocktail, or in your case, marg?
So my go-to marg at Bartaco is the Reposado marg. It's our traditional marg, but with the Libelula Reposado tequila, which gives it a little more of a bite, and it comes with an orange. It's delicious.
Wait, is this a secret menu item or is that
No,
always
it's on
there?
the menu. Yeah.
Right. I always get the house margs, and then if there is an LTO, I will switch over back and forth.
Try the Repo. It's a couple bucks more, but it's really good. It's got a little
I
bit of
don't
an
mind.
orange taste to it, which I like.
Okay, I love that. Well, Scott, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your experience and all your awesome ideas with us. Two final questions as we wrap up. What is one mindset or action you'd encourage the brand leaders listening to try after being with us today?
I'll tell you what I'm working on, and I think it's really important in the world we live in today is emotional intelligence and um, the teams that work for you today need for you to be able to understand where they're coming from and treat them well, and that will really fuel them towards great success, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Especially this next generation who they're saying, yeah, Gen Z is so much more emotive and connected with that. I've been able to teach some classes up at CU. You can definitely tell the difference in just all the ways that they connect.
100%, 100%.
That makes sense. And then who is a creative brand leader you admire? Who do you think we should invite to stay starry-eyed next?
I'm gonna nominate Jack Gibbon from Burner. He's
Yes. Okay.
he's so creative with his brands, the brands he creates, and he's bold. He's willing to try anything once. And he just has a wonderful attitude and is a really kind, cool guy.
I love it. Well, Scott, thank you so much. So excited to see you when you come back to Colorado. I would love to, host you here at your bar taco, our bar taco, when you return.
I'd love it. That'd be great. I'll see you soon.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Liz.